Welcome. This is MoneyHeart, where we explore the emotional side of money. I'm Camille Diaz, and today we're discussing quality nutrition. My guest is Thursall Celle. Thursall is a functional nutrition therapy practitioner. She takes a holistic approach and performs a deep dive to really get to the root of your health or fertility issues. Thursall practices virtually from North Carolina. She has her two beautiful miracles and has recently added a dog to the family. Thursall has additional training in fertility, gluten and autoimmunity, and diabetes. Thursall, welcome to MoneyHeart.
Thank you. Hi.
Yeah, very glad to have you on the show. First off, let's just kind of start by you letting us know what is functional nutrition.
So functional nutrition is obviously nutrition, but we take a look at how your nutrition and what you're eating and all kinds of environmental impacts are impacting all of your body systems. So we take a holistic approach, and that means looking at everything, not just saying, oh, you need more protein, or oh, you need more fat, or go keto. It's not one thing for everybody, because everybody is different and everyone has different nutritional needs. So based on symptoms, we can tell what's going on with the body and kind of address those issues from a root perspective nutritionally.
Cool. So what are some of those common symptoms if somebody is not getting the nutrition they need? What might kind of tip us off that, you could have a nutritional deficiency, I guess is what you'd say.
Sure. So fatigue is at the top of the list. If you're like, oh, I just can't do the things that I used to be able to do. If you have trouble at work with fatigue, that afternoon slump, it's related to what's going into your body. If you are experiencing any blood sugar symptoms, like you get hangry, that's a really big one. Like, oh, that's common. Digestive symptoms are pretty obvious, what's going out and how it's going out of the body. And then you might, these common ones are kind of things that you might go to the doctor and say, hey, I just don't feel right. And they run all the labs and they say, hey, everything looks good. Come see us in 6 months. And you're sitting there going, wait, I don't feel good. What can I do about it? And that's where we come in.
Okay. And I like that concept of, okay, well, if I'm just not feeling right, but everything on the medical side looks good, then it's probably a nutrition thing that we might want to work on. So you kind of hinted at this a little bit about different foods for different people. I feel like we sort of have that, like somewhere in grade school, you got here's the nutrition pyramid, and this is what you're supposed to eat. So what is eating healthy, kind of in quotes, for each person? Like, how do we know what the right things are?
Yeah. So healthy eating, we all hear, oh, eat the right things and, go home, eat better and you'll lose weight. And it's, there is no one thing for everybody, except, hydration is important. So that could be one thing. But actually, the basic needs of the human body are very similar and can be boiled down into the building blocks. So proteins, fats, and other nutrients, minerals, all of these things. So when we talk about healthy eating, what's right for you is going to depend on where you are at in your life, what you are currently eating, and what you can make as sustainable changes. So I never recommend that somebody go straight from eating, say you have a lot of fast food in your diet and tons of soda. I never go from that to, okay, we need to be very restrictive, put you on a strict elimination diet and, see how you do, because that is not a sustainable change. So we start with the really basic things like removing the soda and finding replacements, and changing some of that fast food to healthier convenience foods. So eating healthy is really about nourishing the body, and that depends on, each person where they're at for what that actually will mean to them.
Right. And I love that concept of making sure it's sustainable. I think that's where a lot of us get thrown off, is we think we have to make this huge leap to completely changing everything we eat, everything we do, all the things around our food. Don't have any fun. Don't eat anything you love. Those are all bad for you. And then we're just like, well, I'm not doing that. It sounds awful. So,
Right. And I speak with clients all the time who are eating healthy, and they're like, I'm eating all the right things, but I'm not, like, I don't see results. And so we take a look at that, and maybe they need to tweak their protein intake, or, do something very specific for them. And then they just see results much faster. So it's, very independent.
Very independent. So really figuring out what it is you need by either, getting together with someone who understands this type of thing and saying, okay, here's what my goal is. How do I reach that? Because not everybody wants to lose weight. Some people need to gain weight.
Right.
Some people are doing sports and they want to make sure that they can get through a game or competition or practice without passing out because they're too hungry.
Exactly.
All kinds of different nutritional needs. I feel like sometimes we think the healthier foods at the store are too expensive, and it costs less for us to just get something that might not be as nutritionally good for us, but we can afford it if it's in the budget. How do we look at this differently? How do we pick foods that are nutritional without breaking the bank?
So the bottom line is that if you're in the grocery store, so this is the bad news, I guess, if you're in the grocery store and you're looking at the organic foods and the selections where the animals were raised better, treated better, and are healthier, it is going to be more expensive as a general rule. But what we don't see, and it's pervasive in society, but we don't really see what's going on, is that the quality of our food is impacting our health, and it's impacting it at a cellular level. And until we clean up our diet and nourish our bodies with food that is high quality, we won't be able to feel better. Like, we will just continue on this kind of path. So it is more expensive, but here's the good news. You will, by correcting your nutrition levels and by eating better quality food, you will see the benefits of this for years and years to come. An example is, I had a client come to me this summer, and she had high blood sugar levels. And I said, well, did your doctor talk to you about these levels? And she's like, well, not really. We're just going to test again in 6 months. But she was already in the pre-diabetic range. And I said, okay, so, you really want to get a hold of this now and prevent this, get your blood sugar back under control, so that in the future, you are not put on diabetes medications, you're not having complications. And these things are really far down in your life if you have pre-diabetes now, but the impact is still there. So if you do the work now, and you nourish your body and rebalance these processes that are going on in the body, you are going to save time, money, and energy further down the line. And you will also be able to enjoy this more, because those symptoms that I was talking about, fatigue, and I didn't even mention like depression and anxiety that follow along with our health. This is going to impact how you live your day-to-day life now, with your children, with your grandchildren, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that concept of thinking about, we're not just doing healthy food right now for today so we can feel good today. We're also trying to eat more healthy food and get in more nutrition so that 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years down the road, we're still healthy, rather than, not fixing it up front. And then we're having much more significant health issues in the future as our bodies get older and it's harder to stay healthy, just because we're wearing down. So yeah.
Right. And if you use diabetes as an example, if you do get to that point, you are way more likely to have other health conditions as well. Cardiovascular is hugely associated with diabetes, and then follow the kidney problems and so on and so forth.
Right. Yeah. So it sort of cascades if you haven't fixed it up at the beginning. Yeah. Is it ever too late to change your nutrition? And should we get to 50 and be like, forget it?
Absolutely not too late.
Okay.
Nope.
Always makes a difference, right? No matter what,
Yes.
if you change it, it makes a difference.
Yeah, because our body, so we're like this chemical soup. We have a lot of working parts that are at the cellular level. We need enzymes, we need minerals, we need vitamins, we need all these things for our bodies to work. And it's never too late to start adding that, to start working on our digestion so that we digest better and assimilate those nutrients. So it's never too late.
When you switch your diet, presuming you're switching it gradually, not just like dropping everything you're doing and changing all at once, because I would imagine that would be a bit of a shock to the system. How long would one expect to see initial results, and then how long before you're really getting the full benefit? Because it seems like this might be more of a long game than a short-term thing.
That's an excellent question. So some people do like to make that shift right away, and they go like totally boom. And then if you change really quickly, you might experience feeling worse before you feel better, but your body's just trying to clean up and move through and heal. So to answer your question, for like, if you're making more gradual changes, but you're making good, positive changes, you could see impacts within a week on your clarity of mind. You could see impacts, that soon in some cases. But to really heal and to restore your nutrient levels and replenish what you've been missing, and to clean up some of the crud that we've gotten into our bodies, it can take months. So 3 months is a good kind of like, well, I've been doing this, my body has had time to clean and nourish, and I'm starting to see like huge results. And then for some people who might have a lot of chronic issues, it can take longer. And it's just working through that puzzle, kind of troubleshooting and figuring out, okay, where do we go next? And how can we continue to move forward so that you feel better?
Right. So really not giving up if, you've changed your diet and you've eaten differently and gotten more nutrition for a week or two, and then you're like, this isn't working, back to the old thing. It's not that fast.
No, absolutely not. Now, some people might feel better. There's Whole30 is out there as kind of like a cleanse, a pause. And people get to the end of that and they're like, oh, I feel amazing. But then they could say it's not sustainable. And so they go back to eating whatever. And then, so, it varies. You can see results, but it's better to really work on it and be in it for the long haul.
Yeah, I love that concept that you're bringing up of making sure whatever you're doing is sustainable. So like if you want to change things and you can't change your whole day, changing one meal or changing a bit will get you to the path, and then, make some more changes later so you can keep it going. Because it seems like this is really a continuous journey, not I'm going to fix it one time and I'm done.
Right. And, everybody's at a different starting point. And a lot of times, like I have a client that I was working with a few weeks ago. We're on a 2-month weekly sessions. And we got to like the 6th session, and she had this huge aha moment because she wasn't taking time for herself at all. And that was impacting her stress levels, her ability to implement changes in diet, and just her care of herself. So when she realized, she was like, oh my gosh, I'm I can change this, and I can be happier, and I can care for myself. So that kind of thing is all tied in with taking care of yourself and making changes and working together to make sure that those are sustainable.
Yeah. So one of your specialty areas is fertility. Would you share your fertility journey with us?
I would love to.
Yay.
So some of these problems that some of these symptoms that I've been talking about during this call are things that I experienced myself. So fatigue, I would get to the grocery store parking lot after work, sit there in the car, look at the store, and be like, no, I'm too tired. I don't want to go in there. I would call in takeout, grab it, and go home and just veg. And so you can see that I kind of had like an instinct to take care of myself, but I wasn't able to because of these issues. So fatigue, I have endometriosis. I was also experiencing thyroid problems. And it was a situation where I went to the doctor and they said, well, your labs look fine. You're borderline this, you're that. And I said, but I feel horrible. This is not living life. This is not what I expect. And during this time, as these health issues were getting worse, my husband and I were trying to conceive, and it just wasn't happening. And now I know why. I'll share that with you in a minute. But I went to the doctor. We did a surgery. I went back to the doctor. They put me back on birth control because they couldn't get all of the the surgery. They didn't get everything that was a problem. I said, I'm trying to conceive. Get me off the birth control. What is this? And then we finally ended up, so about 2 years in of trying to conceive, we ended up at the fertility clinic and we did IVF. It was very expensive. It was very traumatic for me as just, trying to deal with the hormones and the shots and the whole thing. And it was very disappointing at the end when I wasn't pregnant. It was even more disappointing when they told me I had no embryos to freeze. Sometimes you can freeze embryos for a later cycle. It was even more disappointing when upsetting, something like earth-shattering, when the doctor told me that if we tried IVF again, I should use donor eggs. So not even my own eggs. He said, your body, we had to use so much medication to get you to function that it was inhospitable for implantation of the embryo. So I realized in hindsight that that it was just, I didn't want to put myself through that again. So we decided to wait. And during that time, I saw a functional medicine doctor, and she ran a food sensitivity panel. It's a blood test, and it showed me things that my body was reacting to that I didn't realize. And I cut out all the foods in the red list and all the foods in the orange list. And within 3 months, my whole body had changed. I had short, painless menstrual cycles for the first time in many, 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 many years. And I lost some weight. My acne went away. I started to feel better. I was able to go back to work. And through this time, we still wanted to start our family, but I just was so, I just can't do that again.
Yeah, kind of overwhelmed.
So we held off. Yeah. So we held off and just kind of lived our lives. And I wasn't 100% strict after those 3 months. Even during that 3 months, I was not 100% strict. I'm human. And, but I tried, and I did pretty good. So 9 months after the failed IVF and 3.5 years total of trying to conceive, I realized I was pregnant. And that was a huge shock. I was pregnant with my son, and he's 10 now. And at the time, I just remember looking at the tests going, is this real? Am I hallucinating? The doctors told me it would never, ever happen. And we tried again after. So my son was born. I went back to eating the junk Yes, I did. I sure did. Everybody, has
We already
things
agreed
that
you're
they have
human.
to journey.
Cool. Yep.
They have to journey through. And I knew I had to stop eating wheat. I actually couldn't. And my acupuncturist recommended a hypnotherapist. And that day I saw her, the day that I saw her, I stopped eating wheat, and I was pregnant with my daughter on the next cycle.
Wow.
In hindsight is 2020, all the symptoms, everything that was going on. And I had a blood test later that showed I'm gluten sensitive. So I had been unknowingly putting wheat, gluten, all those products. I mean, we're talking about crackers, cookies, cakes, pasta. It's everywhere. If you're not familiar with, what gluten is.
It's in wheat
So
and it's in everything.
yes,
Well, it feels like it's in everything.
yeah,
Like you said, yeah, all the cakes, all the cookies, all the bread,
yeah,
all
right.
pasta.
I've said, I can't eat wheat, and they say, oh, I eat white bread. And I'm like, that's wheat. It's made from flour. So I just threw that in there. But
Yeah.
so it was causing so much inflammation that my body was just a mess. My intestinal system, my digestive system wasn't working well. I wasn't absorbing nutrients. Not that I was putting all the right foods in my body either. But that pregnancy, everything started to turn around with my health. And it just continues to get better and better and better. And out of that, that's what kind of that, and seeing other things going on with family and friends, led me to continue my education and actually completely change what I had been doing and go into nutrition.
I love that. Um,
Yeah.
and thank you for sharing all that with us. I really appreciate it. I'm kind of wondering, we've sort of touched on the diabetes, we've touched on fatigue. What other areas of our lives are affected by nutrition? Where does this hit us the most?
Oh my gosh, the most. Our future. Our future is really, I don't want to get depressing here, but if you look at the numbers of the increase in diabetes in the last 10 years, if you look at the numbers of the decline in fertility in the last 10, 20, 30 years, all of these, if you look at the increase in cancer in the last 10 years, if you look at the increase in all of this, it's getting worse. It's not getting better. And if we look at how we're living our lives, and if we look at what we're putting into it, it's a huge factor. Our bodies run, our immune systems run, our blood sugar regulation, everything runs based on the nutrients that we put into it and the toxins that we're exposed to.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and both of those can be affected by what you're eating.
Yes. Yeah. So we're talking about life expectancy. We're talking about quality of life. We're talking about the ability to reproduce as humans.
Mm-hmm.
So, gosh, that was an intense question.
Well, it's kind of a big deal, like nutrition
it is.
really is a big deal. And I'm, sometimes we just grab a snack or go through the drive-through. And, at least now when we're doing that, we can be making a conscious choice to go, okay, is this the best thing? Am I intentionally choosing this because I love it, or, it fits with my plan right now? Making a conscious decision about what we're putting in rather than just grabbing whatever's close because it's close by.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. What are you most excited about right now? What's new in your world?
So I am running group classes, one-on-one and group classes. So they're kind of programs, I guess, more so than classes, where we kind of walk through the mindset. We look each week at a new topic like sleep or stress and how that impacts. So we do like a deep dive in the beginning, and we really get the nutrition things going. And then each week we check in and see how things are going, and mindset, like what are we struggling with, and how can we just continue to set this up as, conscious choices and decisions?
I love that. And we didn't even talk about stress. Gosh, that's got to be a whole
It's
nother
huge.
thing.
Yeah. Cortisol, blood sugar, it's all tied in there.
Yeah. And then, of course, stress eating, people that want to eat a certain
Yeah.
thing when they feel stressed, but it's probably the
Yeah.
opposite thing from what's going to help them feel better.
Yeah. Often.
Often. Yeah. Yeah. This has
Yeah.
been amazing. Thank you so much, Thursall. Really appreciate you visiting with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. If you would like to chat with Thursall, you can message or call her at 919-249-8282 or sign up for a free chat on her calendar. The link is bit.ly/Thursall. So that's bit.ly/T lowercase HURSALL. Her websites are elementalbloom.com and focusingonfertility.com. Thank you as well to all of our listeners and viewers. I'm your host, Camille Diaz. I'm a business optimization coach, financial educator, author, and speaker. You can contact me and find out what I'm up to through my website, CamilleDiaz.com, and follow me on social media at Cam Unfiltered. Be sure to follow MoneyHeart at MoneyHeart Show and on our website, MoneyHeartShow.com. Our money mantra today, provided by Thursall, is quality of life really depends on what you invest in your health now. Thank you so much.